Howdy folks, and welcome to the video for the Tier 9 Italian tech tree destroyer, the Adriatico. We're moving up the line. We played all of them now up to Tier 9, and I feel like I'm starting to get the hang of these Italian destroyers, and I may even like them. In fact, I may even like them a lot. Perhaps hardly surprising for somebody whose channel is named after the Paolo Emilio, but it's interesting because these ships... I have actually tried the Adriatico before because as a Paolo Emilio player, I was like, okay, let's see what the tech tree version of the Paolo Emilio is. And I really didn't have a good time. But that's because I think I fundamentally misunderstood what these ships are about. They're not Paolo Emilios. Yes, they share some superficial similarities, but there's a few key differences that make them totally, totally different than the Paolo. And yet, in a weird way, they share some of the DNA. You're going to see a moment later in the game which really, really personifies the Adriatico, and it's that destroyer assassin role that the wiki was talking about that I talked about in one of the other Italian tech tree destroyer videos, which is a confusing thing to think about. Like, what does that mean to be a destroyer assassin? But you're going to see an up close and personal example of it later. There's a few things that have changed now, even from the Tier 8, that really help refine and define the role of this ship. One of them is that we now have a full complement of 6 each of these full speed exhaust smokes and this incredible speed boost. And what that means is that it's now not just like a tool to use to get out of jail or to get out of trouble once in a while. I'm going to make my one and only one big mistake of the game here, which is just being a little too excited about these guns. They do incredibly good damage. They hit really hard, even against cruisers. That was a 3,000 damage salvo, but there's too many ships shooting at me, and I took a huge hit from somebody. I think it might have been the Hipper. Anyway, it's okay though. Again, it's okay. With a destroyer, the advantage is you get to pick the engagements, and I'm now just going to be a little more careful for the rest of the game. Yeah, so I was saying there's 2 things that have changed now about the Adriatico from even the Tier 8. One is the full complement of exhaust smokes and speed boosts. And what that means is it enables this whole new play style. And it's a really interesting play style, and it's kind of different than any other destroyer I've played. You're not a first line destroyer because you don't have the concealment for that, right? You can't just be like spotting and capping. You can do that a little bit from time to time if that's what your team needs, but that's not, you're going to be your dominant role. But you're also not a second line destroyer. You're not just going to like hang out and smoke like a Groningen. Your smokes don't work that way. Your ship doesn't work that way. The shells really want you to change your position and get good positioning on enemy ships, get some broadsides. And I was wondering how this ship would handle the shorter ranges without just instantly dying in like Tier 9 and Tier 10 matches. And I think the answer is the speed and the smokes. You just have to be constantly moving. You're like a weird distance ninja. You're not trying to surprise anybody. It's okay that they know where you are. You're just trying to constantly move and be impossible to hit. Like Neo in the Matrix or something. The bullets are coming and you're just dodging them and shaking them off left and right. I learned some techniques where you can like start shooting and then hit the smokes, and they have no time to respond to you before you're basically invisible. And then if the ship is still spotted, you can just keep firing. And you can do some pretty good damage. Not necessarily against battleships, but like certainly against light cruisers and destroyers. So that's the other thing that's changed. I mentioned there were 2 things. One is the 6 smokes and the 6 speed boosts, but the other one is these guns. You are now down to a 4.4 second reload. And they're sap shells. There you got 6 of them, and they do 30-50 alpha, and they pen 38 millimeters, which means not so much against this Yimang. This is a low percentage play. I just happen to be doing it because why not? I might as well farm some damage, but I can't pen most of this battleship. But against destroyers and light cruisers and even some battleships with huge superstructures like a Pommern or something, you can really you can get some 4K salvos, and you're getting them every 4.4 seconds. And again, like you're going to be exposed potentially, right? If your smoke is down or if there's radar or something, but that's where the speed comes in handy. I mean, you can go 50 knots and you can move and shake, and they can't hit you. They can't hit you at these ranges. The guns have enough range that you're safe from return fire, generally speaking. I mean, of course, there's exceptions, and there's certain ships you absolutely have to be worried about. One of them is on the enemy team, and it's the Optio. The Optio has laser guns that go to 16.5 kilometers. That ship is a menace against destroyers. So he's a problem, but like your average destroyer and cruiser is just not going to hit you at those ranges. If you use the smokes intelligently, if you use islands intelligently, you can just dodge and weave and get in some good damage. I think where the Adriatico would fall down is where like the team really needs you to be a frontline destroyer and just spot, because it's not going to be all that good at that. Maybe games where there's a lot of battleships and not as many destroyers or cruisers. Or, of course, games where you just mess up. Because I think, it is a high-risk, high-reward play style, kind of like the Apollo. And that's where I was mentioning earlier that even though this ship is not Apollo, it shares some of the DNA. And that's part of it. Like, the skills required to play this correctly are actually similar. Really good map awareness, really good understanding of positioning, and just some bravery, just some willingness to like sail into situations that you might not honestly usually think to sail into, right? Situations that other people might sail away from, but also not foolhardiness, right? Not sailing into situations that you actually can't get out of. Like at the very beginning of the game, I made a mistake. That was a bad low percentage play, and I took a bunch of damage. So you have to know the difference. This would be a very challenging ship to play if this was like the first line you picked when starting World of Warships. You would have a really tough time. Okay, so here we go. I got a Fletcher. He's at 9.5 kilometers, and he's slowly running away from me, but it doesn't seem to be his intention to actually like run. And he was at absolutely full health, and I am at only slightly more than half health. So here we go. We're winning the game. I can afford to take some risks. I want to see how the Adriatico does as this destroyer assassin. I am going to kill this Fletcher or get killed by this Fletcher. That is my goal. I'm heading straight for him. No hesitation. Especially now that the Optio is gone. Yes, there's an Iowa heading towards this position. I have to stay away and stay aware of him. But my goal is to take out this Fletcher. And I am significantly faster than him, even if he is sailing directly away from me. If he is literally trying to run away, then I won't catch him, and I will stop trying. But he has decided not to run away. He is going to park in his smokes. Now, the American smokes are really good, but they are traditional smokes. That means he needs to just sit in that smoke. And I saw his torpedoes come past me, so I know there's no more torpedoes coming. So he's not going to move, or if he does move, I'm going to spot him. And he doesn't have torpedoes. So I like my chances. So this is kind of where the Paolo Emilio thing comes in, except it's interesting because instead of torpedoes, you're using your guns. And instead of targeting battleships, you're actually more interested in destroyers. But if I can get a bead on this guy and he doesn't know I'm coming, I will absolutely roast him. I think. Let's see if it works. Any minute now. Oh, there he is. One shot. 6,000 damage. 2 shots. 4,000 damage. Torpedo. And he's dead. Full health Fletcher. Toast. Now, I'm exposed to this Iowa. But guess what? I got full speed exhaust smokes. Now, I didn't time this right. I have to live for like 10 seconds of exposure. But luckily, the Iowa either didn't have guns to shoot or he couldn't turn them in time. And now I pretty much just get away scot-free. And that's the Adriatico. It's not going to work every game, but I mean, that was pretty cool, right? Deleting a full health Fletcher, just absolutely full health. One shot, 6,000 damage. One shot, 5,000 damage. Torpedo, little bit of help from my friends. Yeah, done. So, is the Adriatico a good ship? I think it is. I don't think it's a great ship in terms of like if if this was competitive play or I really wanted to win, like the winning was my only goal, then I don't think the Adriatico would be the right pick. I think there's better tier 9 destroyers like the Johnston. But if you want to have fun and still have good battle impact and enjoy some fun moments, kind of Paolo Emilio style, but with a very different flavor, I think the Adriatico is surprisingly good. I was expecting to really hate these Italian destroyers. You hardly ever see them, and they have a reputation for being fairly terrible. But I don't think they are terrible. I think they're situational and they're tough to play. But like these guns alone, I mean, they're really strong. They're just really good guns. Like I would take these guns on a cruiser, you know. So yeah, and then you just get so much speed and the smokes. Yeah, I think I'm a fan. Again, I don't want to oversell it. I don't think this is a great ship. I think there's situations that you're going to do poorly in, and there's times when it's not going to be the right tool for the job. It is a challenging ship to play, but I'm looking forward to the tier 10. I think it's the Regulo. I can't remember if I've played it yet for this series. I've played a few games in the Regulo, but again, at the time, I don't think I really understood what I was getting into. Now that I get it and I kind of understand the rhythm of these ships, I'm looking forward to trying that one. I may even try it today. So yeah, that's the great thing about this series is playing these ships that I wouldn't normally play, or getting a new perspective on some ships that I don't play a lot or that I already dismissed. And I hope that that's happening for you guys too, that you're watching some of these videos and thinking, oh man, maybe I should give the Adriatico a try. So 53,000 damage, 2 kills. Yeah, I mean, the numbers aren't amazing, but remember, most of that damage was to destroyers. So that's pretty cool. And, just wiping out that Fletcher alone would give me huge battle impact. So let's see, 1,400 XP. Yeah, not bad. Third from the top of table. It's a good game. It's a good game. Anyway, that's the Adriatico. I hope you enjoyed that video, and I will see you guys in the next one.